9. Marcus Aurelius. There were attempts, of course, to restore ascendancy to reason in the reason-chaos dialectic. Most notable of these efforts was the reign of the philosopher king, Marcus Aurelius Antonius, originally Marcus Annius Verus, AD 121 to 180. The Republic was dead and gone. The empire could be ruled by the reason of Stoicism. The messianic hope of the Caesars could be realized by reason. To his wife Faustina he wrote in 175, "For there is nothing that can command an emperor to the world more than clemency. It was clemency that made Caesar into a god, that deified Augustus, that honoured your father with the distinctive title of pious." Marcus Aurelius held to the old asceticism of reason, and in his Meditations was grateful that I kept unstained the flower of my youth, and that I did not make trial of my manhood before the due time, but even postponed it. He had an ascetic dislike of the body and its care. As your bath appears to your senses, soap, sweat, dirt, greasy water, all disgusting, so is every piece of life and every object. The keynote of Stoicism was life according to nature, and Marcus was converted to the pursuit of this possibility by Sextus the Boeotian. By nature was meant the controlling reason of the universe, for the emperor, God, and man were aspects of one universe. For there is both one universe, made up of all things, and one God, immanent in all things, and one substance, and one law, one reason common to all intelligent creatures, and one truth, if indeed there is also one perfecting of living creatures that have the same origin and share the same reason. The quote-unquote gods and men are fellow citizens of the universe. Deity is thus immanent in all men, and all men participate in divine reason. Men's minds come from the one mind of the universe, their bodies from the earth. Hence, as Farquharson noted, mind transcends particularity, bridging the gulf which in appearance divides men, with their individual persons, wills, ends, senses, from one another by means of the reason which they have in common. Mind is thus the one, and divine, and bodies and things material are the many, and earthly. The preeminence of the one is thus very apparent. It represents the true commonwealth of man. The philosopher king was for Marcus Aurelius the binding quality whereby the oneness of being was brought together in terms of reason. The sentence of Plato was ever on his lips. Well was it for states if either philosophers were rulers, or rulers philosophers. The world of the senses had a monotonous similarity. Particularity had little meaning for him. His view of the games was not one of moral horror, but of ascetic boredom and disdain. As this shows in the amphitheatre and such places grate upon thee as being an everlasting repetition of the same sight, and a similarity makes the spectacle pale, such must be the effect of the whole of life. For everything above and below is ever the same, and the result of the same things. How long, then? He was not the cold rationalist Cicero had been. Both Marcus Aurelius and Fronto believed in dream cures, but he prized the ruling of reason. All else in him was mere flesh and a little breath. The asceticism of reason was more developed than in Cicero. Reason, neither in man nor in the universal mind of nature, is omnipotent, and it is wholly good and free of evil. The universal substance is docile and ductile, and the reason that controls it has no motive in itself to do wrong, for it hath no wrongness and doeth no wrong, nor is anything harmed by it. But all things come into being and fulfill their purpose as it directs. It is curious that scholars have seen, as did some churchmen, a semi-Christian in Marcus Aurelius, when Christianity holds to the fallen, covenant-breaking nature of the total man. Man, said Marcus Aurelius, is body and soul. To the body, indeed, all things are indifferent, for it cannot concern itself with them. But to the mind only those things are indifferent, which are not its own activities, and all those things that are its own activities are in its own power. What then is the power of this good, free, and sovereign mind? It faces an alien world and, to all events, it must say, "This has come from God, and this is due to the conjunction of fate and the contexture of the world's web and some such coincidence and chance. History, moreover, is cyclical. Change is the universal experience, a perpetual transformation, and, in some sort, decay, personal and universal. The physical world must decay and change, but all, the parts of the whole, all that nature has comprised in the universe, must inevitably perish, taking perish to mean be changed. If the gods are not concerned about the universe, an impious belief. If it so be, I say, it is still in my power to take counsel about myself, and it is for me to consider my own interest." Marcus Aurelius knew his function. Revere the gods, save mankind, life is short. This only is the harvest of earthly existence, a righteous disposition and social acts. The social goal, the one, Rome, was as paramount for Marcus Aurelius as for his early Roman forebears. The alternative, as he saw it, was either oneness or anarchy. But art thou discontented with thy share in the whole? Recall the alternative. Either providence or atoms, and the abundant proofs there are that the universe is, as it were, a state. The alternative was either a universal state, a whole which absorbed all and moved through a repetitious cycle of growth and decay, or universal anarchy and particularity. It was for him a choice between law and no law. In this picture, the individual was nothing in the whole. Thou hast subsisted as part of the whole. Thou vanish into that which begat thee, or rather, thou shalt be taken again into its seminal reason by a process of change. Therefore, cease not to think of the universe as one living being, possessed of a single substance and a single soul, and how all things trace back to its single sentience, and how it does all things by a single impulse. There is scarcely anything stable in being, for all substance is as a river in ceaseless flow. This is small comfort, but the choice is either anarchy or this, a unity and a plan and a providence. There was a universe, and a void or chaos surrounding this area of order, and the power of mind or reason is in its ability to trace the plan of all this and comprehend the cyclical regeneration of all things. Mind or reason therefore understood the dialectic of chaos and order and had the power of preferring order. Marcus Aurelius has been described as a good but very worried man. The brutally empty nature of his Stoic faith has been tellingly summarized by Cochrane in his comparison of the Meditations with Augustine's Confessions. The work of Augustine was addressed to God, that of Aurelius was addressed to himself. In his dying words to his family, his son Commodus, and his friends, he urged that his son be given good advice in terms of the philosophy he had laid down, for it is difficult to check and put a limit on our desires when power is their minister.